with you on this very, very beautiful evening in Palm Beach, Florida, uh, a free state, unlike New York. Nice to be here, and we enjoyed ourselves today. We have some breaking news. I'm not sure if you've heard this yet, but I received one of the more ridiculous letters I've ever gotten from a lawyer. In fact, the way in which these left-wingers get to abuse the legal process, and we're the ones that are punished for nothing, is really amazing. So I was sent a letter by Abby Lowell, who is the attorney for Hunter Biden, and a copy of a letter, and the letter goes to the Delaware Attorney General. Think that might be an inside job. The Delaware Attorney General, who wants John McIsaacs, that's the gentleman who repaired Hunter Biden's laptop, and they want me and my lawyer Bob Costello and Steve Bannon and a whole host of other people investigated for illegally distributing Hunter Biden's laptop. The laptop contains at minimum 50 federal crimes committed by the Bidens. And they have the audacity to write to the Attorney General asking that the people who reveal those crimes be harassed some more, the way they've harassed us already. This is a completely, I don't know how to describe it. It's not ethical on the part of the lawyers because it's frivolous. The document that Hunter Biden signed meant that after a certain number of days, and we're going to take a look at it in a minute, 60 or 90, if he didn't recover it, it became the property of the merchant. And those days had long passed. And so that at the time that it was given out by Mr. McIsaacs, he was the owner of it. There's no question about it from the documents that we saw and everyone else saw. The complaint that we should be investigated is an attempt to get yet one more illegal investigation started by a Democrat inclined public official. And for a lawyer to do this, in my view, is exactly the unethical conduct that they are trying to ascribe to those people who faithfully carried out their responsibilities in representing Donald Trump. They are asking for an investigation of a crime that doesn't exist. And I'll tell you why it doesn't exist, because they damn well know it's Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden's lawyer called the New York Post and asked him not to publish the contents of his laptop before it was published. So he acknowledged it. It's been verified numerous ways and different times. It's now been verified even by the New York Post and the Washington Post. It was verified by, I can't go through the number of people that have been verified by, and they've never denied it. He's never denied it. And this letter sort of makes it clear that it's his laptop, since it's his lawyer complaining about it. Right? So it's clearly his laptop. The question is, did John McIsaac steal it in some way? And the letter that I'm going to show you in a minute makes it crystal clear that the property was John McIsaac's. I mean, it makes no sense, does it? Except, what is it for? It's being done because they believe they run the criminal system, they run the legal system This is the Biden state police. Delaware has been controlled by the Bidens for years. There's no question that's the reason why they went to a place like Delaware. And unless the Attorney General of Delaware burns it immediately and refers the lawyers for ethical discipline, then he's really just a plaything of the Bidens. Now let me. Did we get the letter?
It's right here. I just can't get it on. I'm getting a
Let's see.
charge with it.
Well, let's see what. Well, the letter you're having trouble with is the. Oh, they also sent the letter. They sent this same letter to the Justice Department. They're sending it to all of the Biden state police. That's what they're doing. They're sending it to the Biden state police. In fact, the letter I have here is to Dear Assistant Attorney General Olson, who is the National Security Division. The government should investigate the unauthorized access, copying, and dissemination of Mr. Biden's personal information. So this is being done in order to get a Biden Justice Department investigation, yet another one. I mean, the last one they did for several years and raided my house, and then cleared, and then couldn't find any crimes. They want to violate my civil rights again. And this would be an investigation of John Paul Mac Isaac, Robert Costello, Rudy Giuliani, Stephen Bannon, Jack Maxey, Garrett Ziegler, Yaakov Applebaum, and that's so far it. And we had unlawfully accessed Hunter Biden's personal data. And without his permission, so now let me show you. Let me show you, and let's see if we can hook it up to this over here. Let me show you the dispositive document that basically demonstrates let's see. Whoops. Yeah. So I'm going to read it to you, and then we'll see if we can get it up on the TV there. It says after 90 days, oh, it went off again. Somehow it doesn't show up on the TV, bro. But here, let me read it to you just in case, because we can't get it on the TV. Equipment left with the Mac shop after 90 days of notification of completed service will be treated as abandoned, and you agree to hold the Mac shop harmless for any damage or loss of property. In the event of non-payment, the Mac shop reserves the right to remove any equipment or parts installed. A 60-day warranty is provided for all service and repair provided by the Mac shop. So it was abandoned property. After 90 days, we dealt with them a year and a half after. Therefore, Mr. Mac Isaacs could do anything he wanted with it. Will be treated as abandoned, and you agree to hold the Mac shop harmless for any damages or loss of property. I don't know how much clearer that could be. I don't. For the life of me, I don't know how much clearer it can be. But it's about as clear as it gets. Equipment left with the Mac shop after 90 days of notification of completed service will be treated as abandoned. That's what it says. Let's see if I can do something with this here. I think I can. I think I have a trick I can play with this. That will work. Watch. I mean, this should really be stuffed up there. You know what? Should they pay damages for this or something? For this kind of harassment? Or should they be suspended from the practice of law for it, like I was, for acting unethically? I mean, don't the same rules apply? I mean, to them? I mean, this is dishonest and in bad faith. This is done dishonestly and in bad faith. They are seeking a Justice Department and a Delaware investigation of us for something that they obviously know involves no wrongdoing of any kind. And let me show you. Let me also show you the signature page. We'll get the signature page out. It seems to me that this has to stop at some point. And this guy, Abby Lowell, is a good lawyer, and I am shocked that he would do something that's frivolous and in bad faith. This is frivolous and in bad faith. Seeking an investigation of people who committed no wrongdoing is a heinous offense, which is what they are doing here. That's what they're basically doing. So now let's go to here, and let's see if I can get this. Here we go. All right, I'll turn that around. Is there a chance that they can see the bottom line there? Not sure if I can make it any bigger. Is it getting bigger?
Yeah, it's getting bigger.
Nice and big?
Yeah, but blurrier.
Blurry. How blurry?
We
Can you read it?
Yeah, we can read it.
Okay. Now, can they read equipment left with the Mac shop after 90 days of notification of completed service, which he did, will be treated as abandoned? Do they see that?
Yep, I'm zooming in on it.
Okay.
Can I keep it up there for a little bit if we can?
Now, you explain to me how a reputable lawyer can write to the Justice Department and ask that we be investigated for using his property without his permission when his property was abandoned. It's not his property any longer. It's abandoned and it belongs to, and it goes on to say, abandoned, and that he'll hold them harmless for any damage or loss of property. So now explain to me how this isn't anything but a cheap, another example of their harassment, because this has been one cover-up after another for 5 or 6 years of crimes committed at the highest levels of our government. And how a lawyer like Abby Lowell can participate in this is a shame. It's a shame that you would sell your soul like that, to write a letter like this, when this property is abandoned property. It is quite clear it's abandoned property, and Mr. Mac Isaac had every right to give it to whomever he wanted to. And the only reason he did it is because Joe Biden was in the course of lying and lying and lying, and because as a citizen of the United States, he found it intolerable that this family could get away with 50 or 60 major crimes. I mean, the state of Delaware knows how crooked the family is. When I was there, the police told me that the family had been a problem all the years that he was there. And he basically owns the state police. the Justice Department, come on, the Justice Department. This Attorney General, probably try to make this into a terrorism case.
Of course, we also heard, Mayor, recently that Hunter Biden's allies are weighing a legal defense fund on behalf of the president's son. And of course, that would indicate that they're going to be ratcheting up efforts on the legal front. So found that to be very interesting. Is this, Mayor, anything more than an attempt to intimidate and silence Americans who are looking into the cadre of crimes and misdeeds and perversions by this family?
Well, this is exactly what it is. This is exactly what it is. This is an unethical attempt. The entire letter is a false statement submitted by a lawyer, which should lead to their, I don't know, at least their suspension, like me, from the bar. Everything they say there is untrue. I mean, you just read it.
Just
Equipment left with the Mac shop after 90 days of notification of completed service will be treated as abandoned.
And of course, this is important because the letter sent from Biden's attorneys, part of their argument is that John Mac Isaac, improperly disseminated data that he accessed on the hard drive.
That he accessed illegally. Well, he accessed it legally. It was his property.
So the letters are
Abandoned property belongs to anyone who finds it. If it's abandoned, well, it was left with him, so he found it. And that's the law for 1,000 years. If property is abandoned, you can take it, and it's yours if you find it. And now, this property was specifically abandoned to a particular individual, John Mac Isaacs. It's his property. He can do with it what he wants. He could have burned it. He could have kept it. He could have given it out earlier. And finally, the people who got it from him, it really isn't their responsibility to determine how he got it. Think about the Pentagon Papers case. Those papers were stolen by someone from the State Department, but it wasn't illegal for the New York Times to publish them. So this has no reference to the other people that are mentioned at all. And John Mac Isaac has a written explanation of exactly his legal right to it, which they make no attempt to really dispute. So this is a shame. This is what guilty people do, but this is also what people do who are privileged and entitled. They write to attorneys general they control, Justice Departments they control, and they write and ask them to do unjust, unlawful things. This is to start this investigation would be a travesty of justice intended not so much to interfere with us. We've already done our work, and we're going to continue to do it. And they've done far worse to me to try to stop me than this garbage. But this is intended to deter others from coming forward. Look, the Bidens have been committing crimes for over 30 years. There are an untold number of witnesses out there. I've got a whole bunch in the bullpen. This is a crime family. This is a sort of mafia tactic. See if you can intimidate. The Bidens are a crime family. And recently, the hard drive things that have been disclosed have literally been disclosed again and are having major impact. People are seeing now the crimes that were committed by the Bidens. And I think they're really desperate because, I mean, they're getting pounded with, for example, Biden's voicemail from the other night in which he acknowledges knowing about Hunter's foreign dealings in his own voice. Not much you can do to shake that. But they probably didn't really evaluate that the hard drive is, as I said, it's a oh my goodness, to say that it's a solid piece of evidence would be understating it. It's a sure conviction. It's like when you go to trial, you're a disc jockey. You play the tapes, you show the text, and you prove the crimes. from the Biden's own big, fat, stupid mouths. And writings. Hunter writing to his daughter for 30 years. I've paid all the expenses of this family. And I still have to give dad for 30 years 50% of my salary. I didn't say that. Hunter Biden wrote that. That's on the hard drive they're trying to cover up. Why do you think they're trying to cover it up? But it doesn't work when the hard drive was abandoned because the guy is such a desperate, degenerate drug addict. He can't remember where he leaves things, apparently. And it's not the only computer that he lost. He lost other computers as well. And in this particular case, there's a provision here that made it clear that after 90 days, if you don't come back for it, you abandon it, and it becomes the property of whoever wants to take it.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live. And to catch everyone up, of course, and this happened this evening, Hunter Biden's lawyers, in what is being described as a new strategy, is attempting to intimidate and silence his critics and those who have been uncovering the truth about Hunter Biden's laptop. His lawyers sent a series of letters Wednesday to state and federal prosecutors.
Oh, no, they sent it to the Biden state machine. His lawyers sent letters to the Biden state and federal police, which would be the Justice Department and the Delaware offices. So, I mean, they didn't send it to anything that bears any resemblance to what used to be the Justice Department. They sent it to the Biden state prosecutor and the Biden state police. Very convenient when you're a lawyer, can send things to law enforcement agencies that are now running similar to the ones in China, East Berlin before it became free, Russia. This is like the state police used to be in the Soviet Union and is in China. That's who they sent it to, and that's why they sent it. They would not send this to an honest, honorable. It would be they'd be referred for investigation by the Bar Association if they did that. This is so clearly frivolous. I mean, just one line in the purchase order or in the work order makes it clear that he abandoned the property and it belongs to John Mac Isaacs. And why you want to harass the man, I have no idea. He's just a citizen, good citizen who caught the Bidens in maybe the biggest presidential level crime in history. Man's a hero, major hero. This is another example of their attempting to use a system that is one-sided, that is geared only for Democrats and against Republicans, and hoping that they can get some kind of investigation going by prosecutors who are completely owned by them. I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to see how they're going to do it in light of that work order signed by Hunter Biden.
So, of course, this news is just a few hours old.
And also, given the fact that it's been out so long, he's basically acknowledged that it was abandoned. I mean, if he was
desperate.
This
reeks of desperation.
If he was going to complain about this, if he was going to make this claim that it was not fairly in the possession of John Mac Isaacs, don't you have to make it 2 years ago? I mean, Trump's complaints about the election were considered too late and declared and thrown out of court because they were made too late, a month after or 2 months after the election. This is a couple of years after he alleges this happened. And now he just wakes up and obviously he knew this wasn't his property. Otherwise, he would have complained about it a long time ago.
From the start. Like, whoa, this isn't my laptop.
He knew immediately it wasn't his property.
Yeah.
I mean, Hunter knew it was no longer his property. He remembered what happened. He never complained about it. So a new lawyer comes in, another tricky lawyer comes in and says, let's try this one. Oh, and by the way, we own the Justice Department, so what the hell?
That's right.
They wait 2 years to do this.
Mac Isaac's attorney, Brian Della Rocca, has weighed in this evening. His only comment after skimming the letters, and it's interesting, Mayor, because you used the word privilege, and here's the word from Mac Isaac's attorney this evening. After skimming the letters, and this is a quote from Brian Della Rocca, John Mac Isaac's attorney. After skimming the letters, the only thing I see is a privileged person hiring yet another high-priced attorney to redirect attention away from his own unlawful actions.
Yeah, I mean that is exactly correct. That is exactly correct.
So the sending this letter seems to be in a way almost an admission, and I think in the letter, the way it's worded, I haven't gone through it yet, but it almost seems as if they're admitting a good portion of the material on the laptop is in fact Hunter Biden's. I mean, if they're alleging that John Mac Isaac had, improperly reviewed information on this laptop, isn't that them admitting that the information belonged to Hunter?
Yeah, I think we're past that, though. I think we're past their fighting that it was not Hunter's. I mean, for example, the voicemail that we played, the other night is definitely, it's on Hunter Biden's computer, and it's definitely Joe Biden's voice. But has Joe sending messages to foreign computers? I mean, if you want to validate it, you can do it just with that one message. That was a message to the computer, to him, referring to his son. It's certainly the computer that his father thought was his son's computer. I mean, what else do you need to validate it? His father is on there giving him a message in which his father blows up their entire defense that he didn't know about foreign contacts of his son by saying that he just read the New York Times article that describes his foreign contacts, Hunter's foreign contacts. And that's Joe Biden on there. And now they complain that it was improperly obtained by John Mac Isaacs when he has the document saying quite clearly that it's abandoned after 90 days. It's well after 90 days.
Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live, with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani, the fastest hour on the internet. Be sure to go to rudygiulianics.com. That's rudygiulianics.com, and watch the mayor's most recent podcast, fascinating discussion with one of his police commissioners, Mr. Howard Safer, and that's out there now, so you can catch that.
Yeah.
And now we're going to play a voicemail.
Hey, pals, Dad, it's 8:15 on Wednesday night. We get a chance to be called. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you about the article released has been online. It's going to be printed tomorrow Times. It's good. I think it's clear. Anyway, if you get a chance to be called, I love you.
Play that again.
The red bar, the red part. Click at that little red bar. Beginning of the red, yeah. Oh, this is a screenshot.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, let's go back one.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, pals, Dad, it's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance to be called. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you about the article released has been online. It's going to be printed tomorrow Times. It's good. I think it's clear. And anyway, if you get a chance to be called, I love you.
That's the laptop we're talking about. You want validation that it's Hunter's laptop? His father communicated with it. That's his laptop. That's pretty good. That's pretty good vindication, but validation. Also, it's damn incriminating that his father is calling him and making reference to, in fact, a Times article that talks about his dealings with the spy chief of China. The foreign dealings, the foreign dealings that he claims, he never talked to his father, or his father never talked to him about, which of course has always been totally false and untrue. And this is as stupid as this whole thing now is as stupid as that. This whole thing they're doing right now is as stupid as that. And it's also a clear indication of their guilt. Now, but the real issue is, why aren't they being investigated? But they're calling for an investigation of us, and they're not being investigated? Are you kidding me? Joe Biden's not under investigation, and they want us investigated? And there's evidence like that? You're in the clear? I mean, that sounds like a mafia conversation. You're in the clear. This is getting to be really outrageous and completely ridiculous, and making a mockery out of our system of justice, if it still exists in the United States. So let's hope that something is done about this.
Thanks for joining us. America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Comment below who you are and where you're from, Mayor.
Well, first of all, Nikki Haley is planning on running for the White House, and the former President Trump called her and wished her luck and said he's glad she's running. He sure is glad she's running. The more the merrier from the point of view of Donald Trump, correct? He's the front runner. He's the person with the base, the real base that's been with him through several elections. Got more votes than any Republican candidate for president ever. So the more you reduce the percentage he's got to get to win a primary, the easier it becomes to win. A two-way primary, you got to get 51%. A three-way primary, rarely do you need 51%. You don't need 51%, probably. I mean, somebody's going to get at least 4 or 5%. So now you've just reduced it. Four-way primary, more, five-way. So from his point of view, the best thing that could happen is if Pompeo jumps in, if Nikki Haley stays there, if DeSantis jumps in, if who else is talking about Chris Christie, but I don't know if he's serious. There are a couple of others, but I mean the first group I mentioned would be the serious ones, and it would seem to me that those are the important ones. The FBI looked at the office, the Biden former office, a good deal of which was paid for by the Chinese communists. They searched it finally after months and months and months and months of the Bidens having a chance to clean it out. Well done, FBI.
So comment below. Let us know. Are you with Donald J. Trump for president in 2024? Are you taking a serious look at one of these others, including the person the mayor just mentioned, Nikki Haley? And of course, we're waiting to see if Governor Ron DeSantis gets in. People like Mike Pompeo, former Vice President Pence. I think you mentioned a few other names. But comment below. Let us know. Are you with Trump? Are you considering someone else? You can comment with Trump. Or maybe comment with another, the last name of someone you might be supporting. Just a unofficial poll. We'd love to see where people stand.
Yeah, I mean, it's really going to be very interesting to see how many people run. I see an article here that the Democrats are worried about Kamala Harris either running again as vice president or having to take the mantle from Joe, who is looking increasingly weak and out of it. We'll play a little something in a few minutes, and you just listen to it and tell me if he isn't really, really, really losing it. Is the CCP virus, COVID virus emergency over yet? I thought it was over a year ago But now it says here that it's not going to be over until May 2023. I thought back on January 30th or so. Oh, well, September 18th, 2022, he appeared on 60 Minutes and he said the pandemic is over. So now we're over a year later and the emergency is not going to be over until May 2023. You get the idea that the emergency declaration was a dishonest tactic as opposed to having anything to do with a real emergency of a semi-dictator? I do. I think you don't need any more proof of it. September 18th, 2022, he appeared on 60 Minutes and said the pandemic is over. Now it's, and then on January 30th, 2023, yesterday, he announced that it'll be over in May of 2023. The emergency declaration. So the emergency declaration exists for well over a year now. It'll be a year and a half with no emergency. So that he has superpowers, and can interrupt your rights. This is what John Mac Isaac's lawyer meant by privilege. And it's not just that they're privileged. They think they're privileged to run down and run over your rights, which is absurd. They have no such rights. So Biden was here in New York. He was 1 mile from the migrants that he sent here, and he didn't go visit him, leading to the following comment from a Democratic council member. The president is pushing his agenda, but he doesn't want to fix the border mess he created. He'll sweep it under the rug. It's almost like Biden to New York City dropped dead, he said.
Wow.
That's a Democratic member of the city council saying that. I do want to, and then we'll get to some of you dig out some of the better questions there. I do want to play, in our effort to track the deteriorating brain of our commander-in-chief and the deteriorating brain of the man who has his hand right near the button, which is kind of a shame. I mean, this is really, really hard to take. Here it is. Okay. Okay, here we go. This is him yesterday having a little trouble remembering common names of the people he's with every day. A sure sign of advancing dementia. Oh.
I'd like to, the Attorney General is here, General Garland, Javier, Mr. Secretary, you can come up too. I've been watching on television, you've been really good. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Secretary. I'm going to have you speak now. I want to thank the former general. I keep calling him general, but the guy who runs that outfit over there. I want to make sure we thank the secretary. I want to thank all of our distinguished guests that are here today. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the secretary of the Secretary Austin, and the chair of the FCC, Lena Khan, acting chair of the FTC. And the reason I asked Mitch to do this is because
this is pathetic, isn't it? I mean, this is pathetic. This is the president of the United States. I mean, this is what goes on in a talking to somebody in a nursing home.
he knows how to get things done. I want every penny watched how this is spent. Thanks to Ron Wyden and Jeff Merkley and Earl, excuse me. I know. You can call me Bidden. Joe Bidden. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Valen.
Happy birthday to you.
Do you valid? I don't know. If you voted for him, don't you feel completely defrauded? I feel completely defrauded, and I didn't vote for him. How is it that this isn't published everywhere, every day, so they get him out under the 25th Amendment? I mean, it's not funny having a president who's missing half his brain and then getting people killed as a result of it, like in Afghanistan. You know, Ukraine wouldn't have happened if he wasn't there. You know that. Whether you're whatever side you're on with Ukraine, however you feel about it. I mean, it's Biden's war. No way Putin would have done that with Trump there, or a president who had a brain and a pair of, you know what. I mean, this is terrible. There are still people trying to make the Memphis incident with Mr. Nichols. They're trying to make it a race issue. They're trying every which way. Van Jones, of course, from the very beginning, said the police who killed Tyree Nichols were black, but they might still have been driven by racism. And the Times said it's the system and the tactics that foster racism and violence, not the special racial identities of officers. The whole system is racist. I mean, it's just to divide, right? It's just to divide the country. And I wonder if they are disappointed that they didn't succeed so far, thank God, in this becoming violent. I do think that it had a lot to do with the swiftness with which the criminal justice system acted. I do, and I think it did in large measure have to do with the mother and the family asking for a calm in such a credible way. It was a very extraordinarily strong statement. Very, very strong statement. And I think one that had, I mean, I've listened to many of those statements, and obviously most of them are done in good faith. Maybe every once in a while one isn't, but most of it is done in good faith. But that one seemed like it had an extra degree of credibility to it. So I think it had a lot to do with it. So what do we got?
Got a very busy night, Mayor. Some very busy chat rooms, a lot of questions. We did have a couple people ask you about Nikki Haley, and if you've known her, had any interactions with her, any general feedback. She seems to be the first one, other than DeSantis, who's looking at getting into this race to challenge President Trump for the nomination.
Well, I say Pompeo too. I mean, she and Pompeo have gotten into a little dispute also.
Somebody mentioned Pompeo in our comments and said he was very good on Southeast Asian issues. And I think this individual may have some family in Southeast Asia. So he was particularly impressed with Mike Pompeo when it came to Southeast Asia. I don't remember the specific country. I'll look back at the chat room. So that was interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, his foreign policy is the same as Trump's. He was Trump's Secretary of State. And I don't know of any divisions between them on foreign policy. His foreign policy is I'm trying to think if there were any divisions between them. I do seem to think there were some with Nikki Haley, but I don't remember what they were. I don't remember.
Some divisions?
Yeah, there were a couple of divisions on issues, but I can't remember exactly what they were. And of course, there was always the feeling she walked out for political advantage. You know, she walked out, didn't get the job done, which was what Pompeo has slapped her around for, that she's a quitter, that she didn't stay there and get the job done the way he did. is there something to that? Yeah, there's something to that. She certainly didn't have, when you consider the fact she was only there 2 years, she really doesn't have that much experience. And she was at a lower level than Secretary of State. She was the ambassador to the UN, which is not an executive position. So when it's strange, they're both running. He was her boss and had far more experience than she did. So I don't know if that'll hurt her or what. And they pretty much stand for the same policies as Trump, except Trump has actually delivered, and they never have had a chance to. They might deliver, they might not. So I don't know what that means. I do know the more the merrier from the point of view of the former president, because the more that run, the lower the number to win. Of course, it's all a question of who's going to win the general election. I think that when all the dust settles, Trump will pretty easily win the Republican nomination.
I just can't imagine somebody, who supported President Trump last cycle, which was close to 80 million, maybe even over 80 million. The exact number, I'm not giving an exact number. I'm giving a general number for anyone watching, and but that works on content policy. He received tens of millions of votes. I can't imagine somebody then, if they are happy with him, supporting somebody who worked in his cabinet, right?
No,
I don't understand how that would work.
I guess the point is of the polls, and who knows how accurate they are, that some people have drifted away from him, and whether it's a 75 million and maybe there were others that voted for him or whatever, but some of them have drifted away from him. And some of the new voters aren't for him. But is that, I don't know. We'll see. Those are just polls at a very early stage. And we have to grant that he's a remarkable campaigner.
We want Mayor Giuliani in this primary. Someone give a few comments on that. And if not, at least to run with Trump. I
don't know that there's a candidate on the horizon that has the campaign ability of Trump. I don't know if there's anybody that has the energy and the drive and the
besides the man I'm looking at right now. And I'm not paid to say that.
But the reality is that from what I've seen of Pompeo, he does not strike me as a natural candidate. Nor by the way, does DeSantis, although he's become much better. Nikki Haley does. Nikki Haley, I think, is a better politician in the sense of performer than the other two. What that counts for, I don't know. But I think of the three, she comes the closest to having the spark and the energy that Trump has. I don't see it. Watching Pompeo's on quite a bit now, selling his book, and often intelligent, often very cogent, but not interesting. And honestly, the rap on DeSantis was he needed so much help in the first election because he wasn't a good campaigner.
He might have lost that without President Trump's support.
He would have. He would have lost the first one without his support. There's no doubt about it. I think he knows that. Second one, he won on his own because of his good performance and his good work. But I didn't see him campaign, so I can't tell you in that one how good a campaigner he was.
And usually you would say, what does somebody really owe someone else after 4 years, yada, yada, yada. But the way President Trump did come in and support Governor DeSantis in his first win, I can see why now the president I can't say whether he does or doesn't actually take issue with it, but I could see why he would be a little bit upset with someone like Mr. DeSantis throwing his hat, at least, flirting with running and running against the president. I see why.
I do too. I mean,
especially with DeSantis being so young, he's got time.
Yeah, I really do think that DeSantis owes Trump in a way that most others don't.
And you could help him more than almost anybody.
And should defer to him as the elder and the guy that made his career, helped to make his career. Because I'll tell you what he wasn't going to win for sure was the Republican primary against Adam Putnam.
Bingo.
He was down by like 18%, 17%, had no money, Trump supported him, and boom, it just flipped right around. He would not have won that. And I think he was going to lose the general. I mean, he needed a lot of help. He needed a lot of people to come in and a lot of people to help him.
You went in there and helped
I
him.
sure did. And he was, I mean, it depended on the poll, but he was behind in some. And what did he win by a percent or two? Not, he win.
Oh my gosh.
When you win by a percent or two, it proves you needed the help.
America's Mayor Live, just a few minutes to go here, and we have some exciting new features that will be rolling out in the coming days. We plan to have a live audience here very shortly.
Right.
You saw a taste of our TV. We're going to do some more work on that. That will be a regular feature moving forward. You'll see more and more of that. And of course, stay tuned for some other big announcements, some special interviews, and different things that we will be doing. And of course, you can catch the mayor on WABC radio every day, 3 to 4 p.m. and Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Uncovering the Truth with Dr. Maria, who was a big hit last night. I must say, Mayor, a lot of positive comments when it came to Dr. Maria joining you last night. Keep the questions coming. We still have a few minutes left. There was a couple others I wanted to look at. One person wanted to know if you thought New Hampshire, what was your, I guess we had a few questions asking about your experience. I mean, you ran for president, you were the front runner in 2007, 2008. And they wanted to know a little bit about the difference between, we started out in Iowa, going from Iowa to New Hampshire to South Carolina, the dynamics of that. Does that give us a good cross section of the country, having those three states? I mean, they're very unique states, right? If you really think about it, I think of Iowa. That's not necessarily that's not a microcosm of the country, right? It's a great state, but it's not a microcosm of America.
They're all three states are
great states. Of course,
they don't contain a big city, a really big city. I mean, South Carolina has some cities, but they're not mega cities.
Yeah. They're not big cities.
No, they don't. But the reality is they do afford the opportunity for up close campaigning. And they give the people participating in the election the chance to really get to know the candidates. That's particularly true in Iowa and in New Hampshire. And therefore, they do in that sense, they do get a lot of the vetting done for us. I mean, a lot of candidates have gone out in in Iowa and New Hampshire. Look at Biden. I mean, that's where Biden got caught telling all his lies and plagiarism. And you see the clip all the time on TV where he's talking lying in class and about his IQ and all sorts of other things, and then pronounced, finished as a candidate. That was in New Hampshire under pressure, under the pressure of campaigning. It weeds a lot of people out that aren't able to handle it or are sneaking liars like Biden was. How he returned again to lie every day now, I don't know, but he does. Now he lies every day. It's pathetic to watch this man perform and his criminal family. Iowa is not a state that you can count on just based on polls. Meaning, because the president won it last time doesn't mean he's going to win it this time. He's got to go earn it again. Just the mere fact that somebody is ahead doesn't mean they're going to win it.
It's a caucus, right?
Yeah, no. Iowa's caucus.
Yeah. Oh, we're talking about New Hampshire now?
New Hampshire's a vote.
Oh, yeah.
New Hampshire is a vote.
Now we're talking New Hampshire.
New Hampshire is a vote,
Yep.
But it's a vote that's a little different than most of the rest of the country in terms of primaries. Independents can pick one or the other party to vote in. So you can have the vote affected by what independents do, which doesn't give you a good indication of where the party is completely. So it's a little bit odd in that sense. It's a little odd. Iowa is a caucus. It's only about 90 or 100,000 people that show up, I think, if it's that many.
That's where Obama did very well, right, in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Hillary was supposed to be the nominee that cycle.
Yeah, and that's a very aberrational situation. I mean, the people the people don't go and vote in a voting. They go to a
Gymnasium.
they go to like a debate.
Yeah.
And they have to be there for a certain portion of the debate. And then after the debate, they vote.
Yeah.
And either the candidates or surrogates of the candidates to show up. I've done that I did it when I ran, but I also did it as a surrogate for Bush a couple of times in 2004 and 2000.
In 2000.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So you were.
Because they send people, like there are so many caucuses, the candidate can't go to all of them. So they send surrogates for the leading candidates, and they get up. And it isn't quite a debate like you debate. So when you get up and make your statement, so you have your half hour or your 20 minutes or whatever it is. So you get up, you explain why you should vote for Bush or why you should vote for Trump. Then the people ask questions for a short while. Then you leave, and the next one comes up. And then eventually, about 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, they have to vote. And so it's really very different. New Hampshire is just like any old primary, except for that independent can invade the primary of either party. So I guess it depends to some extent on how these tickets shake out. If by the time it all shakes out, it's just going to be Biden and Trump, then the primary is not going to mean very much. But if it's going to be contested on both sides, then you'll get a lot of attention there. Now, the Democrats are trying not to make it a first in the nation primary.
Yeah.
Now, New Hampshire has a law. If I think I have this right, if any other state goes in front of them, they push theirs back 2 weeks. I remember when we were going through this in 2008, there's always an attempt to change it. And we were thinking maybe the primary would be as early as November if some other states tried to move in front of New Hampshire. But they'll have both the Democrat and Republican primary on that day. So I don't know when the Democrats are going to run their primary. They want to do South Carolina first, Ed. They want to do South Carolina first. But if they did that, let's say they would have put South Carolina on January 5th, right? They would just move theirs to November 20th of the prior year. And that's what they would do.
Wow.
And as I said, I think too bad Maria isn't here now, but she would know that. But I think I do believe there's a law that they have to be the first in the nation primary, and therefore they will move.
Michigan's trying to move up,
But
which would be good for Trump, by the way. I think
they will move their they'll move their primary to before any primary. So maybe we can have a primary tomorrow if they.
Well, Mayor, just a couple minutes left. What is your closing message on this hump day, on this Wednesday, the first day of February? Give us a closing message.
Well, I guess great disappointment that the justice system appears to be completely fixed. I mean, the idea that this lawyer wrote this letter asking for us to be investigated on the theory that this was stolen property, when you have a document clear as you can be that it was abandoned property, and so many years later, just another phony tactic from a group of criminals and phonies. But the part that gets me upset is nothing's been done about it. People have had their homes raided. There have been stormtrooper-like crashing down of doors and frightening of children, and these people haven't even had a proper subpoena served, much less being called before a grand jury to answer for crimes of the highest magnitude that are now proven by documents, tape recordings, records. What does it take? What does it take for the justice system to finally treat the Bidens like other people and not give them this kind of disgusting immunity and ability to abuse our system? Because the letter that was written is an abuse of our system. It's asking a Biden-controlled Justice Department to conduct an investigation that will help Biden. It's asking a Biden-controlled Attorney General's office to conduct an investigation that will help Biden. It is an illustration of how corrupt our country has become. Look, when people have been corrupt all their lives, as they have, they corrupt everything they touch. And they sure have done a good job, unfortunately, of corrupting our justice system. Probably they've done that more than anything else. You have to fix it with your vote, big time. And I'm going to be there to try to help you do that.